Trayce, 4 years at Indiana, and based on all the metrics, it looks like you could have jumped earlier than now. What motivated you to want to stay 4 years at Indiana?
So my first 2 years, I had that COVID year, my sophomore year, and so then Coach Miller got fired, and Coach Woodson came in, and I just listened to what Coach Woodson had to do, or told me to do. And coming back after my junior year, I was testing the waters, and I got COVID again, and so not being able to do the draft workouts or be able to participate in the combine, I just felt like it was the best opportunity to come back for my senior year. And I had a great senior year, and I'm truly grateful for it. And I felt like me and Coach Woody talking, we were saying it was time for the next step, and no better place to be than San Francisco with the Golden State Warriors. And I feel like overall this 4 years, or the past 4 years, and then coming into this situation, I can't ask for anything more.
Trayce, speaking of listening to Coach Woodson, I'll use that as a clue. We actually have a mystery caller who wanted to call in and ask you a question. Let's go to Mike in Indiana. Mike, did you have a question for the newest Warrior, TJD?
Trayce Jackson-Davis. I couldn't be more proud of a young man than I am today, sitting here in this airport. Hey, love, you got it. How you doing? You couldn't have picked a better place, man. Great organization, hell of a coach in Steve Kerr, great coaching staff. Man, sky's the limit, boy. I'm so happy for you. I really am.
Hey, I appreciate that, Coach. Thank you very much. I miss you. I'm going to be back out there soon to see you.
Okay, no problem.
Trayce, Mike Woodson, head coach in Indiana, obviously, who coached TJD. You know what, Trayce, before we let you go, let us let you listen to what your coach has to say as he answers this question. Mike, what did the Warriors just get? What makes the kid so special?
There's nothing he can't do on the basketball court. And if you're basing his game on a jump shot, you're foolish, because he's worked his ass off this summer and shooting the basketball. But I look at all the intangibles. He blocks shots. He rebounds the ball. He initiates the break. He can pass the ball. He can finish at the rim with both hands. There's nothing this young man can't do. And I just think sky's the limit for him, man. I mean, he's going to be tutelage under a great coach in Steve Kerr, who I have the utmost respect for, he and his staff. And all Trayce Jackson-Davis got to do is come to work every day and listen and learn, and he's going to be just fine.
Yes, sir.
Trayce, what do you think about that?
Hey, that sounds like a plan to me.
Trayce, we're going to talk to your coach a little bit more about you, so your ears might be burning, but congratulations and thank you so much for coming on.
Nope, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Trayce.
Love you, my man. Talk to you. Tell the family I said hey.
Yes, sir. I got you.
There it is. That's a cool moment. Trayce Jackson-Davis, one of the newest Warriors, joining us, and now his college coach, Mike Woodson, with us. Mike, thank you for coming on, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I mean, I'm so happy, man, to be able, I'm new at this, to be able to sit in a draft room and watch, two of your players get drafted, man. I mean, it's just, for me, it's like a dream come true, because I didn't know going into this, it would happen so quickly, but getting Jalen Safino drafted by the Lakers, which is another great organization, and the Warriors speak for themselves. It's a first-class organization, always been that way, so I'm happy for Trayce Jackson-Davis. I truly am.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat reaction from you, Coach. It's like watching your kids go to a good university, that pride you get as a parent. But we were talking to TJD earlier, and Mark was mentioning the maturity and the poise. Is this just typical for this young man, well, this not-so-young man, to just be able to handle everything with such ease and aplomb?
Well, again, when he made the decision to come back, there was a lot of heat around that, meaning coming from me. I showed him a tape. You'll like this. I showed him I put a film together, about an hour-long film of all the things that he couldn't do. And we got almost halfway through it, and he said, "Damn, Coach, you didn't put anything on here I could do." I said, "It took you that long to, figure it out?" I said, "I wasn't interested in the good things that you've done." But he's shown that he can rebound and score the ball, but it was the little other things, blocking shots, closing the hole when people got beat, when you switched out on guys, taking, responsibility of trying to keep the guy in front of them. I let him start rebounding the ball, initiating the break. Those are things that I did in Atlanta and in New York with our bigs. And he became great at that, and hell, led us in assists. I mean, it was just amazing. He listened, and he put the work in, and we benefited from it as a university basketball team. I mean, we couldn't have done and had the success we've had the last 2 years without him. He was our ace in the hole, and we rode him. I mean, and he delivered. And so I'm proud, man. I'm so happy for this young man.
I mean, Coach, it's clear through your words that you think he ended up in the right place. However, I'm sure everybody was surprised at when he ended up in that place. You mentioned being in the draft room. What are your thoughts as you're watching all of this unfold, and a player you think so highly of is continuing to be available so deep into the night?
Oh, I was struggling. I was sitting there in Brooklyn. I was struggling. I was like, what is going on? With Trayce Jackson-Davis, why people can't see what I see. And, all I can say is the Golden State Warriors organization got a wonderful player. And Steve Kerr, with his coaching knowledge and the way they play, this young man, he's going to fit right in. So, I couldn't be more happy, for that selection. And even though it was 57, because I surely thought he was the first-round draft pick. The things that he did over the course of the 2 years we coached him, it was amazing. So he landed on his feet. He's in a great spot, boy, and I'm just proud and happy for it.
Indiana head coach Mike Woodson here on 95.7 The Game, talking about Trayce Jackson-Davis, his former player, drafted by the Warriors. You mentioned the jumper, and if teams are dwelling on that, they're missing the greater player. But what about the jumper? How much can he improve, and how good of a shooter can he eventually develop into?
He doesn't have a bad shot, guys. He just wouldn't shoot it with me. And again, I think his comfort zone, was around the bucket, and that's how we utilized it. But he can do things out on the floor with the basketball, and I just think the NBA is going to bring some of that out. And I'm sure Coach Kerr will be patient with him and work with him. The only way you get better in that league or any league that you play in terms of basketball, may it be at the high school, college, or pro level, you got to work at it, man. And, I don't see that being a problem. So I just can't help but think he will get much better as he goes along.
Coach, are there any comps, or maybe a better way to say it, if you were to suggest to him any player in the NBA to sort of model his game after, who would you pick?
I don't know. I don't like comparing players, because he's so unique in different ways. He kind of reminds me of Sabonis a little bit, but he's more athletic than Sabonis. But Sabonis is probably a better shooter out on the floor right now than Trayce. But in terms of doing all the other things, that's what I look at as a coach, man. What else do you bring to the table? The guy rebounds, he blocks shots, he can guard and pick and rolls. He can hit open guys when they're open for shots. He can initiate your break. There are a lot of good things that Steve won't probably need him to do all of those things, but I did as a coach at Indiana. My staff and I, we needed him to do a lot of things, and he handled it very, very well. And again, we benefited from it. We won at a higher level than we've done in the past, and a lot of that had to do with Trayce Jackson-Davis.
The Warriors actually need almost all of that, and he becomes immediately, I think, their tallest player at 6'9", and certainly he's got the most length, so the shot blocking will be all great. Now, you mentioned the pick and roll defense. Is he the guy who can be as comfortable away from the basket defensively as he will be inside the painted area?
Well, where he was great for us guys, because we switched a lot, and then there's sometimes, you come in transition and you get caught in a bad way with the guy that's a great ball handler, and now you got to man up and see who's going to win that battle. And there were times he got beat, but there were times when he got beat and he ran it down and made tremendous blocks at the rim, to help us. And, he didn't quit on the play. So those are the things that I look at.
Coach Mike Woodson at Indiana, TJD, the second-round draft pick for the Warriors as part of a trade yesterday, and that's what we're talking about here on Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Coach, you know what keeps ringing in my head as I listen to you talk about him is coachability. And you may or may not know this, but this is a big discussion point around the Warriors this year based on not being as good this year as they were last year and the moves that they've now reportedly made. It sounds to me like they're actively looking for players who really want to buy in to a system, and it sounds like you're saying that TJD is the perfect kind of guy for that.
That team is perfect for him. I mean, the way they play, bringing Chris Paul over now, who I have a great deal of respect for, man, because I had him in L.A. with the Clippers. It doesn't get much better than Kerr and Thompson. They still got Draymond. I mean, they got a lot of nice pieces, and make no mistake about it, you don't win titles and not be competitive every year. And they are competitive, and they do it the right way, and that's why I think skies are the limit for this young man, Trayce, because they do play. Steve's done a great job in putting that team in the right position to play the right way every night, and they're going to be in the mix when it counts in terms of having a shot at probably getting back to the finals and winning another title. And I just hope Trayce is a big part of that.
Coach, we will let you go, and I know you said you didn't like comparisons, but can I ask you real quick how often you get told you sound like Tone Loc?
Oh, I get that a lot.
Yeah, I had a feeling. And apologies to our audience in their 20s who are like, who the hell is that? But anyway,
Totally.
yeah, Coach, thank you so much. That was great.
Hey, guys, you take care, man.